Mic check, 1 2 1 2. What's up, everybody? We're back with the Premier Madden League Red Zone Fantasy Report. You already know the Fantasy League right here for the #1 league in the Madden community on the PlayStation 4, of course. I got two of your favorite hosts with me right now. Nefarious, say what's up to the people. Uh-oh. Did I lose him again, Nefarious? Paula, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't hear Nefarious.
I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry, a little technical difficulties, but I'm here, ready to get this rolling. The Red Zone Report, you know what it is. Everybody knows what it is. It's the number one show in PML, right next to the Gold Rush.
Oh, wow. He went for 2 for 1 on that one. Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Let's get this going. Fall and get and introduce yourself to the people.
What's up, guys? It's Fallen. We're back again with another week. Had some high-scoring games, in fantasy as well as in the PML. So good luck this week, and make sure you pay attention.
Pay attention is right. Let me see, get everything pulled up here on my side. So, jumping right into it, we have the scores from the Week 9 games, guys. Let me get that up here on the screen for you.
Before we do that, let me announce some of the waivers.
We got waivers. Yeah.
So we had a few waivers. We had 3 from the Goose man, Cliff Gooseberry. He's got 3 waivers on his fantasy team. He dropped Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback from the Chiefs. He added Baker Mayfield to replace him. He also dropped Le'Veon Bell to pick up Deebo Samuel, a divisional rival, I guess he's going to pick up there. And then he dropped Hayden Hurst to pick up Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys. So some interesting moves by you, especially with Deebo Samuel. Then you take a look at the Broncos, FKJNP. He dropped Cole Kmet, and he picked up Jalen Samuel. And then the Colts user, Papagreeny, he dropped the Titans defense and picked up the Cardinals defense. Guess he likes that matchup coming up this week. And we'll get into that when we talk about our Week 10 matchups.
Gotcha. Sounds great. Well, yeah, we'll definitely dive back more into those waivers when we look at the matchups, see where everything's going. Picking up right here let me make sure I can see it on my screen too. So we go into our Week 9 matchup games played. JP went up against Bubba, and once again, it's looking like we are looking at situations where people are doubling scores, huh?
Yeah, this one is a sticky one because it wasn't Bubba's lineup, it was Drama's lineup. But
that's right.
As we know, Drama is no longer taking part in the fantasy. I don't know what did him in. It might have been the constant losing that has been happening with his Pittsburgh Steelers ever since C.J. Verdell went down. Maybe that got him a little disconnected, but he's going to get replaced by Bubba going forward. So this lineup's not really on Bubba. It's pretty much a free win for FK because Drama didn't really pay attention to his lineup at all.
True. This was even with the performance he got from Goosecki, it would have been tough for anybody to beat him. 42 points up by the tight end. DeAndre Swift gave him another 26. Russell Williams didn't give as much as he probably would have wanted, but between Russell Williams and Todd Chandler, he got another 23, 24 points. So not a bad 126. That's not bad. That's a winnable game. Also losable. So I think he definitely got the victory there and may have beat anybody. Maybe. Hard to say. Moving up to the next matchup, we got the Natural up against Papagreeny, and which was not a close one at all.
And a big reason for that is Fallen. You could actually talk about it a little bit because you're the one that was talking about it with me earlier this morning.
Yeah, so Natural played against Bacon and the Ravens this week, and he left both Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins in his lineup. So if you do go up against somebody in the real-life PML on Madden, you have to sit those players and sub them out for somebody else. So unfortunately, he did leave them in, and he got 0 points for it. But with Papagreeny scoring 166 points, even with adding 2 guys, it would have been pretty difficult this week for Natural to kind of fight back and win that one.
Yeah, 166 is going to be tough to beat. Alvin Kamara put up numbers there. Dak Prescott put up numbers. And then he had big numbers from Jarvis Landry, which I don't think comes as a surprise. It'll be interesting to see how that goes with the numbers Landry's put up to this point. He's definitely become a hot commodity in fantasy. He was, he spent a good bit of that, as a free agent. But now that I imagine he's popping up on Team Scouting Report as far as PML games, I wonder will he continue to be a hot commodity in fantasy, or if that might slow down his team start to plan for him. So that'd be interesting. Moving on up to the next game, we got Goose versus Fall in here, and it's looking like this one got ugly fast. Josh Allen showed up for me, and after that, 118 isn't terrible, but it's not going to be Austin Eckler's performance. I actually watched that game. I think that was a bit of a grudge match. We had a little chatter in the chat, so typically grudge matches always make for a really good fantasy game, just depending on which side of it you're on. But and then let me see who else put up numbers for you. Miles Sanders, yeah, that's
Miles Sanders.
Yeah. You got 100 points from 2 guys. Like, has that been done before?
I don't think
close. I don't think that, but yeah.
I don't think it's been like that since what we used to do the DraftKings type situation last season.
Yeah.
That's when everybody was having lineups with cartoon numbers because it was just pick whoever you think's going to have the best game, and it was pretty easy back then. But ever since we started doing this, I think that's the most between 2 players in one lineup I've seen. 55 points might be the most on the season, to be honest. I don't think anybody's had more than 55 points in PML yet, so that might be a fantasy record for this cycle.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close, and I was watching a little bit of this game. And it kind of shows in Justin Herbert's numbers. Eckler was just getting, wide open chunks down the field.
Breaking tackles and everything.
The Chargers didn't even need to throw the ball. But, so even with Herbert's disappointing numbers, at least it's not negative yards or negative points. So but between Eckler and Herbert, you still got 58 points between, that Chargers offense. So,
But
this week was pretty good for me.
Yeah, with the numbers you got, you could have afforded a negative point. You could have afforded 50 negative points and still won from Herbert.
Yeah, that was a luck of the draw type of loss for you, honestly, Goose. I mean, if you would have got anybody else like Bubba or, Natural, or even I'm trying to see anybody else that had low scores, but out of the scores that we went through, if you had Bubba or Natural, you would have came out with a win. But you kind of got the beast of the week with Fallen this week.
I did. Josh Allen did all right for me. I expected a little bit more, but he did all right. And that was about really it. Taywan Taylor gave me, almost 20. Hoop gave me. I don't know how much longer Hoop's going to last on the lineup. But moving to the next game, we got Malirojo versus Nefarious. Low-scoring game here compared to some of the stuff we've seen lately.
Yeah, really was. That score, 111, I think you would have beat me too. I got to go back. Yeah, you would have beat me as well if you went up against me. Really tough game. I forgot that Darius Slayton got injured in a computer game. I forgot all about that. And I actually don't think I had a different option on the bench. I think I had to play Darius Slayton this week. Yeah, Rondale Moore was on a bye and Terry McLaurin was on a bye. So I did not have a replacement for Darius Slay. So I had to play Darius Slay or play somebody on a bye. I could have picked somebody up in free agency, but I kind of like the way my team is now, and I didn't really want to risk, dropping somebody that I think is going to make an impact at some point in the season. I'm lucky to come out with the win out of this anyway, so no harm, no foul this week. I'll have Randall Moore and I'll have Terry McLaurin, both big hitters, back in my lineup for next week, and Darius Slayton will be a good guy to keep later on down the road, I believe.
Yeah, I can't argue with
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
Yeah, it makes sense. I like it. I understand that move. I kind of came against something similar, I think 2 weeks ago, where it's like a not worth dropping, I just keep. And then I dropped a guy who I realized I probably should have kept, especially with playoffs on the way. Our last matchup of the week of week 9, we have my bad, Burn against Q. Get the scores up for everybody so they can see it.
Yeah, and another guy that you would have beat, that adds to the list.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when you think about it, when you take a look at all the users that put up less numbers than you went up with the guy that put up the highest score. So
yeah,
like I said, luck of the draw a lot of weeks. It doesn't matter, how good your lineup is. Anything could go wrong any week. There could be a guy that usually gets fed that doesn't get fed that week, and it's you could go up against, you could score 180, the guy next to you could score to 182. There's really no stopping it. But yeah, this week, Q, even with Cooper Kupp not being a part of that Jaguars offense in the most recent weeks, he got big games to Dawson Knox and Rashad Bateman.
Yeah,
and then he also had a pretty good week from the Patriots defense and Javian Hawkins.
Yeah,
and Deshaun Watson, who's been pretty bad the last couple weeks, had a decent week this week.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson had his first rushing touchdown of the season, so that helped with his points. He broke like 4 tackles to get into the end zone. But anybody who watched my game, I lost it with 2 seconds left on a pretty favorable animation for Papagreeny. But
yeah,
it was a good game
that replay was that hurt.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I got to go back and look at it.
It's definitely worth a watch. I mean, this is I'm going to be honest. I like Q's lineup. He's got a lineup that. With just looking at the roster, these guys are either going to put up a lot of points or nothing, because these are all kind of go-to players on their respectable teams. So I really like this lineup a lot. And that's nothing against anyone else's. I'm just looking at there's kind of at any given point in time, anybody on this team could give him points, So this lineup has a potential to be high scoring.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the only one that may be questionable is Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Just based on his performance the last couple of weeks. But I think, Cooper Kupp is a superstar. So, he can get used in that offense in any game. I just think the Jags offense hasn't needed him based on who he's played the last couple of weeks. So, I probably wouldn't give up on Kupp just yet.
No, especially if they make it to the playoffs.
And you could look at his bench. He's got Justin Jefferson, who he couldn't play because he was on a bye, Devontae Adams, and then Odell Beckham Jr. So he's got some heavy hitters behind Kupp. I think moving forward, you'll see less of Kupp in the lineup, and I don't think he'll miss him much with those heavy hitters that I just mentioned.
Yeah, Odell actually had a really good game against the Dolphins. I think that probably, if Q plays Odell, he probably has the most points for the week.
Oh, yeah. I got to say, did we mention it last week? I'm the first and only person to break 200. I should get a trophy. I'm going to talk to JT about getting me extra content points just for breaking 200. It's an amazing feat. Shameless plug for myself.
I think you mentioned it in the chat, but yeah. No.
I'm going to mention it.
Yeah, no, that's a great feat. Scoring 200 is very difficult. So, you should be proud of it.
Yeah, they're going to say I've been cheating, but...
Are you finished?
That's not how we roll. That's not how we roll.
Oh, you're not done? All right, go ahead. No. I'll wait.
No, I'm not done. Okay. Yeah, you can wait.
But no.
Let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah, no, that's our matchups for week 9. With week 10 on the way. Are we at starters and sit-ins already? I felt like we skipped something.
No, we got through the lineups pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That was actually probably the fastest we've been through the lineups. Wasn't much to talk about, honestly. The only real
there weren't really close games. All the games were blowouts. Yeah,
and the only one to really talk about was the 55 points from Eckler. That's probably the one standout.
Yeah.
That's the most points that's been scored so far in fantasy by one player. So, yeah, that was pretty quick for the matchups because wasn't much to talk about there.
True. moving right along. Let's get into stardoms and situms. Next week, I'll for sure have that. Next Madden week, I should say. I'll have that graphic ready. We can make it, look sexy. But we got week 10 coming up, guys. We got some starters and situms for you. We all kind of jumped in on each position. I think, especially at the speed we're moving, maybe we can just have a little dialogue, still not drag it out too long, but a little dialogue on where we are and who we feel, could really be a player this week. Fallen, I'm going to let you kick it off with the quarterbacks and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I really like this matchup. The Panthers and the Saints. Trey Lance. The Panthers are giving up the fourth most rushing, or the fourth most passing yards in the league, and I think Lance, he does it all. He can throw the ball and he can run the ball. He actually has 6 touchdowns on the ground, so he's going to give you both points in the rushing department and the passing department, and then plus just going up against this defense, I think the game's going to be pretty high scoring.
Do you expect them to still give you some touchdowns on the ground against that Panthers blitzing defense? Because we know they're blitzing.
Yeah, because I think even if I think he can probably sneak in the read option here or there if the Panthers are blitzing and they go to cover Kamara, because can't forget about him.
Yeah,
Trey Lance can kind of slip out the corner.
Very true, very true.
Yeah, I was about to pick Trey Lance for my stardom. The only thing that has me shying away is Dean III has been complaining about some connection issues in recent weeks. So I don't know if that's just going to be a continuous thing. And I don't know if that's going to affect his overall play moving forward. So we'll see.
It could.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what happens with that. That's the one reason I didn't pick Trey Lance as my stardom.
Who was your starter?
So my starter for quarterback actually is kind of a surprise because he's coming off a tough week, is going to be Matthew Stafford for the Detroit Lions. He's going up against the Seattle Seahawks. I think that's a favorable matchup for him. After a couple of weeks of just, I think he's had a rough back-to-back weeks. I'm kind of playing, my luck here. Thinking, he's had so many bad weeks, something's going to give.
Yeah.
And I think week 10, something could give for him against the Seahawks. I think this is the week that he turns it around, Matthew Stafford specifically, and gets that passing offense going. It does hurt that he doesn't have Kenny Galladay, but it also gives him, reason to get other people involved in that offense. So we'll see how it works out, but I really like the matchup for the Matthew Stafford against the Seattle Seahawks.
Makes sense. Jumping right into it myself, I actually chose where's my man? Wilson, coming from the Chicago Bears against that Pittsburgh defense. It's no secret. We know that he struggles. His front seven is nice, but his defensive backs where he needs work. I think the Bears have really gotten to the zone as far as moving the ball in the air with that rookie quarterback, and I expect him to try to take the top off this week against the Steelers, knowing that they have a weaker secondary.
Yeah, the Steelers, I like that matchup just because the Steelers are
in a slump.
balled up in a corner in their own head right now. Yeah. So
I think he'll come out of it, but I don't think it'll be this week.
Yeah, no, it's a tough matchup for him to come out of it this week. It would be a good time for a bye week for him, kind of like I'm going into a bye week. I don't know if he's already had his bye week this season, but it would be a good time for a bye week to recollect. I get a bye week this week. Hopefully I'm able to recollect, but unfortunately he's going to go up against the Bears, who's a tough user who could throw the ball, and I think that's a really good choice in Zach Wilson. I think he's going to have a solid game this week.
Agreed. Who we got for situms, Follow? Oh, go ahead, my bad.
Oh, no, I was just going to say on that, I think that's a really good matchup, especially because Drama's coming off of 3 losses and a tie. He actually had his bye week in week 8. Then after that, in week 9, he just had a tie. So he's given a lot up through the air. I think his struggles will continue because even if he can cover the throws in the air, you got Tariq Cohen on that offense as well. So
true.
Got to come in at him by 2 angles. But going to my situms, I actually would set Matthew Stafford this week. Despite the favorable matchup, I actually really like the matchup for him. but it looks like there is a 2-quarterback system going on in Detroit. If you watch any of Cookie's games, he definitely tries to run with Taysom Hill on the goal line. So I think Stafford's not getting any playing time on the goal line.
Like it hurts passes touchdowns, I got you.
It does. He runs with Swift when Stafford's in. And then Stafford on the season has thrown more interceptions than he has touchdowns. I think Stafford's one of those guys we've seen with multiple weeks of negative points. So I think Byrne has him. Yeah, he does. So I think if you're Byrne, you probably have to look at the quarterbacks that are available in free agency and probably make the swap until you see Stafford really getting used more in that offense.
I don't believe that, Byrne. Keep Stafford, play him, ride him, pause, use him.
We're starting to sound like a real sports show now. Okay, we got a disagreement.
Use him.
Yes.
Don't listen to Fallen. He put up a lot of points this week, but he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Now, here's one thing Fallen did not mention. When I was looking at, I looked at the matchup, so I naturally thought, hey, Cookie moves the ball in the air. Let me see how many yards Malirojo's giving up in the league right now in the air. He's actually number 3 in pass defense. He's giving up. Yeah, he's just barely giving up 200 yards in the air pass defense. He's at 209 now. I mean, you could argue who has he played, but I mean, we're going into week 10, so if he's holding that, that's pretty tough.
I mean, it's with how bad his run defense has been throughout the season. I could kind of get why his pass defense is so good, is because why would you throw the ball when you could run for 150 plus yards? Yeah, the only time, he played me well in the run game, so I don't know if he's fixed it recently, but earlier in the season, even down 2 scores, I was able to use Ty Chandler to come back, and he put up 237 yards and had 2-3 touchdowns. So it's with how their run defense has been, teams haven't had a need to pass on him. But I think moving forward, if his run defense is going to be good like it was against me, then I could see teams passing more on him and those numbers being inflated more.
That makes sense. Go ahead.
To add on to that, his run defense is actually pretty average.
Yeah, he's in the middle of the pack.
Top 6. Yeah, he's top 16 in the league, and he's just behind the Patriots, who are at number 15. So, it's pretty average. But to have a top passing defense,
Yeah, according to Daddy Leagues, he's number 2 defense. On my Madden. He's number 3. So, he's definitely top 5.
I ran it. It's funny that you mentioned that too. A lot of that happened to me back in the last cycle, or it might have been the cycle before. When you're turning the ball over and having people have short field against you,
they're passing less.
You're not giving up that many yards either on the ground or passing. So if you're turning the ball over and they're starting on your 40, they're not having to travel that much to score.
True.
And I have that same issue where I'm turning the ball over and they got short field. And my defensive stats could look great, but it's not because, my defense is great. It's because my offense is so terrible that it's putting them in great field position to not have that many yards against me, if that makes sense.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So, okay, well, so who do you moving right along with that? That's something really there. Who are you sitting at quarterback this week, Neff?
So who I'm sitting at quarterback this week is I'm staying away from Derek Carr this week.
Okay.
That Raiders team is pretty much checked out. He's in a divisional matchup against the Broncos. They see each other a lot. And, I really don't like that matchup for the Raiders. I feel like he's gunslinging it a little bit with Derek Carr, leading to a lot of interceptions and leading to a lot of turnovers, period. So I don't like that matchup just because of how bad the Raiders have been, and going into a divisional matchup, I think it's going to work against him if he's playing as loose as he usually does.
I don't know. Sometimes people show up for division games, even when they're in the losing slump. So this could be one where he turns it around. But, it's even with moving the ball in the air, you still would need some of those to be touchdowns. Isn't Henry Ruggs back? Yes?
Henry Ruggs has been back, but the offense hasn't looked any better with Henry Ruggs in it.
Maybe he'll turn it around, especially after that explosive season one he had. I would think, it's with the halfway point of the season, week 10. Maybe he turns it around for the last 6. I don't know, but I'm going to have to agree it hasn't been proven yet, so I wouldn't gamble now, especially the Broncos have kind of been playing better ball lately. So, yeah, I had to agree there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think FKJNP, if you look back at all his games, they've been pretty close lately, and he's almost gotten the win. So I think he'll take the win there.
I agree. So I actually sat quarterbacks Sam Darnold against that New England's defense. I feel like he favors throwing the ball over running, and I just don't think the Patriots defense is the team to try to air the ball out against. They've got veteran corners. Who knows how long they'll be around this cycle, but even then, right now, while they're on the field, not just corners, really the whole defensive backfield, and he's got some speedy linebackers. I expect the Patriots defense to score big. I would not gamble on Darnold this week.
Yeah, and he's a baller with that safety, Kyle Duggar.
Yeah, and Kyle Duggar's a hard hitter too.
Yeah, so I like that pick. That's a no-go for me when it comes to Sam Darnold. I don't think anybody's got him on their team, but this week is definitely not the week to pick him up.
I think there was a little excitement surrounding Jets when he got in. I know the roster isn't great.
I think that's fizzled out.
Yeah. I think the roster isn't great, but I think him as a user, he's not bad. So I was looking to see if maybe him moving the ball in the air might lead to me picking up a couple players from the Jets roster. But especially not this week. This isn't going to be the week to run one of their guys.
Yeah, this is definitely not the week to trust any Jets players. Last time they played together, it was a blowout, and it was definitely a demoralizing blowout for the Jets.
Was he there? Or was that the CPU?
Nope, that was he was there for that one.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Yep. That was the part I wasn't sure about. Let's get into the running back. So let's talk about the guys carrying the pill. Fallen, take us again.
So I like J.K. Dobbins this week. He has been pretty good all year, and then even last week against the Patriots, Lamar and Dobbins both combined on the ground for that team, but Dobbins even had 68 yards rushing on a pretty good defense, and then you figure they're going up against the Browns this week, who has a pretty awful defense, one of the worst in the league. He did win last week, so that's good for him. I think that the Ravens are going to put up a lot of points this week, so I like Dobbins.
Yeah, I agree with Dobbins. He didn't have a good game when he played the Browns a couple of weeks ago. He only had 41 yards and 1 touchdown. He also had a fumble. It looked like more of a throw it and bury your opponent type of divisional matchup, where the Ravens were just trying to, rub the Browns' face in it, rub the Browns' face in the dirt, pretty much. So this might be a little bit different. He might lean more towards the run this week, just based on his tough loss this past week against the Patriots, where he had the lead and gave it away with under 5 minutes left that he gave it away.
Yeah, I think I forget the exact time frame, but it was definitely in the fourth quarter, and it was back-to-back turnovers. The Patriots defense actually had 3 touchdowns against the Ravens, so I think if the Ravens would have just kept up with, running the ball with both Lamar and Dobbins, just kind of running in that option here and there, I think they come away with the win last week. But, you live and learn.
Yeah, after those big interceptions this past week, it kind of shies you away from slinging the ball over the place moving forward. So we'll see exactly what happens with J.K. Dobbins. I think it's going to be a run-heavy offensive scheme for the Ravens come this week.
Makes sense. I like it. Who are you starting this week at running back?
So I went with the Patriots and Jets matchup that you went with for your sit-em at quarterback. You sat Sam Darnold. I'm going to start the Patriots running back, Philip Lindsay. I think this is a must-start week for him. I expect 30-plus points, easy 30-plus points from Philip Lindsay this upcoming week. I think the Patriots will be able to get up early, and then they will be, running out the clock for the rest of the game. So it's going to be big points for Philip Lindsay, I suspect. So that's why I'm going with Philip Lindsay there for my start him as running back.
I like it. That makes a whole lot of sense. They're in the back 8 as far as run defense goes. So yeah, I don't think this would be the week where they change it up.
Oh no, I don't think this is going to be the week. They might be even checked out on the season.
It's possible, very possible. Did you have anything to add to that, Fowler?
No, I think that's a pretty good pick. I think we're going to continue to see him put points up. So no, I think that's a great pick.
I actually went with Dalvin Cook this week up against the Bengals. I expect a good game here. The Bengals are in the back. Like I said, they're also part of that back 8 as far as against the run. They're fairly decent against the pass, in the top half of the league. So I don't expect the Vikings to air the ball out too much with that rookie quarterback. I think they'll try to get him some good stats, a couple plays here and there. But to avoid any high turnover, interception to touchdown ratio, I think they're going to move the ball on the ground with Dalvin Cook. I think this would be as you said, this could be an easy 25, 30 points from him. For sure, 20. I would expect 20 to 25 points from him at minimum,
Yeah, Dalvin Cook is a must-start, I think, going forward. How well he's been running the ball for a superstar and how well he's been doing in that offense. Dalvin Cook out of the backfield, receiving and running the ball is a must-start every week in my book. And I think this is one of the most favorable matchups that he'll have all season long.
I can see that there. Let's jump into the sit-ems. What do we got, guys? Follow who we sitting this week at running the ball.
So at running back for sit-ems, I'm staying within the same game, and I'm going with the Browns' Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb actually hasn't had a 100-yard game since week 5 when he played the Packers. And, the Packers give up a lot of yards, whether it's in the air or on the ground. So, and then going back after that, he ran for 107 yards against the Vikings. So only 2 games this season with over 100 yards, and he's not even being used in the passing game. So, and then when they played in week 7, he only had 9 carries for 26 yards. So I would definitely sit Chubb. I don't think you're going to get much production out of him.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, Chubb is an afterthought in that offense, I believe. He doesn't get used enough, to be honest. I think he comes out in a lot of gun packages, which puts Kareem Hunt on the field because that's yeah. And even Kareem Hunt's not getting love in those packages. It's usually his wide receivers who have been great weapons for him all season.
Yep.
Neff, who we sitting?
So I'm sitting for the running back. I am going for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going with Ronald Jones against the Dallas Cowboys. I like the Cowboys. They're playing really good football right now. I think this past week they blew out the Giants 61-10. So I could suspect a lot of the same thing. Deloitte's coming off another tough loss. It definitely weighs on you mentally when you come so close to winning, and you can't get that last score. And I think this is going to be another tough matchup for Deloitte, and I don't see Ronald Jones making a difference in this game. I think he's going to get out of hand early, and the Tampa Bay is going to have to resort to throwing the ball more often than not, and Ronald Jones won't be a big part of that.
What's interesting about that, the stats that support your decision is, the Baltimore Ravens get a lot of talk about, obviously the trade they made and, the front 7 and really locking up against the run. But Dallas is actually the number 1 defense against the run, holding teams under 80 yards a game. So, yeah, that strongly supports your argument there.
Yeah, that's really impressive. I didn't even really look into that. That's I was just looking at the matchup and just knowing that they got the number one run defense is really really impressive. One thing that I think that contributes to that is he plays a control the clock type of football game. He moves down the field slowly and methodically, and that really leaves teams on the other end less time to make a comeback, so they fall away from that run heavy offense, and they go into throwing the ball because they know how they have to score quick, because they're going to work against the clock based on how they move down the field, how well they control the clock and control the ball.
True, very true. That turnover battle really does seem to contribute a lot to the stats, and I think you do have to keep that in mind. This week myself, I originally had my sit-em, but then I realized the guy was hurt. I got to go with the Bengals, though. Running game, I just don't think it'll be even be any type of the Vikings, I believe, are top 10. I didn't track it completely, but I would not expect to see anything from Joe Mixon this week. And it's interesting because, at first he was suspended, for the overuse, catching out the backfield. But now going up against that Vikings defense, I just don't expect Joe Mixon to be a heavy contributor. I would not start him this week. I do expect them to bounce back. The Bengals, like, same thing, kind of in a little bit of a slump, had a couple wins. So maybe they'll pick it up, but it won't be this week. Not with Joe Mixon against the Vikings. I would actually sit Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good choice. The Texans, the Vikings are actually top 5 in overall defense and top 10 against the run.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I knew they were up there. They're also holding teams under 100 yards, which I don't think they've had a lot of blowout games on there. I can look at the schedule. So that's a couple, but nothing. So, yeah, that's same thing. That goes back to that they're just locking up. So that's nice, that front seven, man. The game in the trenches, right? Let's package tight ends and wide receivers together, just kind of, so we can keep moving because we're almost out of here. We're hitting that 40-minute mark, so let's keep going. But Neff, you start us off this time. Tell me who you're starting at wide receiver, because that kind of both guys receiving. Who you starting at wide receiver? Who you starting at tight end?
So it's funny because my starting for wide receiver is going to kind of contradict my sitting for quarterback, but I'm going with Rondale Moore. Yeah. For the Raiders. It seems to be the only guy getting yards and getting touchdowns. The reason that I got Derek Carr as a sit-em is because I expect a lot of turnovers from him, a lot of interceptions. But I do see him, throwing a couple touchdowns, and I think those touchdowns are going to go to Rondale Moore in that offense. So Rondale Moore is going to be my stardom for wide receiver. My stardom for tight end, I'm going with Gerald Everett from the football team against the Falcons. Seems to be one of his favorite targets right next to Terry McLaurin, especially in the red zone. So I'm going to lean heavy on Gerald Everett this week because I really didn't see anybody else when it comes to the tight end position that I really like this week.
So I can really strongly agree with you there on the Rondale Moore. Believe it or not, when I looked at matchups, I considered Everett because I did see that, he's targeting. But the Falcons have a couple of linebackers that, I don't know, we'll see. I feel like, he's still kind of getting, I can't think of his quarterback's name right now. Football team's quarterback. Jesus, just slipped my mind.
Dwayne Haskins?
Yeah, Haskins. I feel like he doesn't take a lot of deep shots. He's methodical when he takes them. And so I would expect the Falcons to try to take away underneath stuff. And therefore, I just, I don't know that he'll be able to hit the tight end as much, Everett as much as he wants. I'm not saying he won't be able to, but I considered that as well when I was looking at my stardom, at the tight end. So that's interesting to see how that's actually going to play out.
Yeah, I really like that matchup. Like I was saying, Falcons, they got really good linebackers, but They also seem to give up a lot of points, and Gerald Everett's a huge part of that offense.
True, very true. Shout out HD in the chat. He said Landry for MVP. He's making an argument for him. He's definitely making an argument for him as the fantasy MVP, the most valuable slept-on player.
Force feeding Landry. Keep going.
Yeah, basically. Fallen, who do you got for me? Wide receiver, tight end. Talk to me.
Yeah, so for starting for wide receiver, and we actually already talked about this team's quarterback as a stardom, Allen Robinson on the Bears. He's got 977 yards on so far this season. I can see him eclipsing over 1,000 yards and heavily targeted in this game with Drama's pass defense being so lackluster. So I expect Allen Robinson to have a great week. And then Mike Gesicki for the Dolphins. He actually leads the league in catches for tight ends, and he also leads the Dolphins receivers in catches. And he had a heck of a game last week. So I think the Colts defense is pretty tough, but I think that game's going to be pretty high scoring, and Gesicki's still going to get his targets.
I can agree with that for sure. I know they kind of lack in secondary, and their linebackers are okay. So I definitely think, knowing that he lacks in secondary, he's going to try to make up for the difference there with that wide receiver core the Dolphins have, and I think that'll allow Gesicki to get busy. Allen Robinson, I feel like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, if anybody's going to get points when it comes to that. That receiving core in Chicago, I think it's going to be Allen Robinson, so I like that pick. And Mike Gesicki quietly has been having a good season. I mean, he gets his targets and his receptions. He might not be the red zone target that you want him to be in fantasy. He might not be getting you those big points, but he's a reliable, close to double digits points a game type of guy. There's a lot of guys out there that you could put in one day and he has 12 points, and next day he has 2. I think Gesicki is kind of the stable of being average throughout the season.
I can agree with that. On my stardom, I ran with Robinson myself. Nothing new there. I was looking for an unconventional pick. I think Noah Fant could have a good showing against that Raiders defense. One of the, as far as athletic tight ends, he's definitely one of the more athletic tight ends in the game. So I expect him to have a good game. I know he's been getting targets. He's racked up a couple of yards for him. I don't expect this game to be any different, as I feel like the Broncos are really making a push to try to turn it around right here at the back half of the season.
Yeah, they're performing well, and I think they're gonna keep trying to make that push. And Noah Fant has been a key part of that offense. He's explosive tight end, and I totally agree with that pick. I think if he's gonna do anything, it's gonna be this week against the Raiders, who's having a tough season, and in a divisional matchup, it's gonna be a heavy hitting matchup in this one.
True.
Yeah, I agree. I actually really like that fan pick. The Broncos offense is explosive. So you got to kind of worry about multiple people, especially Hamler and Judy. And FKNGP is playing great. So you can't go in there thinking, hey, I'm gonna automatically win this game. So I think if you try to take away Judy and Hamler, Fant's gonna come out on top. And Fant actually leads the team in receiving yards, and he's tied for first in touchdowns. So
nice.
Definitely getting his targets.
Nice. Let's talk about who we sitting, guys. Fallen, as always, take the lead here with this one. I mean, my bad. I think Nefarious led us. Who led us on this one? Neff or Fallen? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I led on this one.
Yeah, who we sitting? At receiver tight.
So I'm sitting DK Metcalf, and I am sitting Eric Ebron this week. Those are my two sit-ems. When it comes to DK Metcalf, he hasn't had the season that I think the Seahawks were hoping thus far. I think a lot of people are keying up on DK Metcalf. As DK Metcalf goes, the Seahawks offense goes. And I think that's going to continue this week. Cookie Boy has a very good he's very good with his user, and I think he's going to take away all the deep stuff from DK Metcalf. So I don't see him, breaking out this week. And then when it comes to Ebron, he's going up against the Bears, having a tough season so far, really struggling recently. So I think it's going to continue this week, and I expect a lot of turnovers from Gardner Minshew moving forward, because he's already made it apparent that he does not like throwing with him. And CJ Verdell's back, which I saw on your running back sit him. And if he's back, he's going to lean heavy towards him. And I feel like Ebron's going to be afterthought like he was in the beginning of the season.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I didn't realize he was back. That's why I was initially going to say sit him, but I'm like, I couldn't remember if he was injured or not, so that's why I changed my sit him there.
Yeah.
But
I think he's back this week.
I think you nailed both of those. I mean, with that user cook he has, it's, for the most part, anytime I've seen him throw to DK, it's been something deep, and it makes sense because of his speed and route running. But I think Cookie's going to be more than willing to double team and sometimes even triple team as far as zone goes against DK Metcalf and make somebody else beat him. So I agree with that one.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy week for I know firsthand it's not going to be an easy week for the Seahawks offense, especially when it comes to throwing the ball.
Ballin', who do you got for me on the sit-ems at wide receiver, tight end?
So for wide receiver, tight end on the sit-ems, actually I have DeAndre Hopkins, and then I have Devin Asiasi. So I know, you hear DeAndre Hopkins and you think, wow, why is he not being used? He's only got one touchdown for the season, but a little bit of insight, and he's been triple and double teamed. So, I think until people start, allowing him to kind of get down the field, I kind of would stay away from Hopkins. And then Asiasi, that Patriots offense kind of goes through Lindsey. And then I think Asiasi has only had one catch the past couple of games. So he's a tight end that, you thought you could rely on when you drafted him because he's an explosive weapon. But it doesn't look like that offense really runs through one person receiving the ball. So I kind of would stay away from him.
That makes sense. Yeah. The double teams are to D-Hop. I mean, I guess respect to D-Hop. I mean, he hit 99 overall, and I guess everybody saw it. And the double teams were already there, but they haven't lightened up at all. So, I got to do my diligence on finding other ways to get them open. But
I totally disagree with that pick. I think this is D-Hop's week this week. I think this is D-Hop's week this week. This is the matchup where D-Hop is going to have that week where people are going to be like, all right, he's back, and then he's going to disappear moving forward.
I can see that argument, especially when you say this week. I can see that argument. And then I kind of agree with this move. I think it could be a playoff thing too. He's got the division in hand.
That's true.
No reason to change up what he's doing on offense. Just kind of, I don't want to say coast, but just kind of coast right into the. We just advanced, by the way. Just saw it on the stream.
Congrats to everybody.
Yeah, but coast right into the playoffs, and then from there open up the rest of his playbook, which I don't doubt will feature Asiasi more. But as far as right now, there's no need to run him this week. Jumping into guys I'm sitting this week, I'm actually sitting Jarvis Landry, the MVP, the feed me please champ. I think Jarvis Landry, he's at this point, he's made it very obvious who he's throwing it to with the whole defense of the Ravens. And but especially like their defensive backfield is nice too. So a superstar corner and an X Factor corner, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I just don't think this would be the week. The Ravens user does a great job of film study, so I expect him to be willing to give up passes to even Hooper before he gives up a deep ball to Landry. So I think Landry might score a touchdown, maybe, but I don't expect him to have 4 touchdowns this week. I don't even think he gets 2. Maybe he gets 2. He definitely doesn't get 3 and 4. So
I mean, if you're getting 1 or 2 touchdowns from wide receiver, you're starting them, to be honest. And if I'm being honest, I keep putting Landry in my lineup. Baltimore, I think they got more to worry about than just Landry.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna try to take away Odell and maybe think about Hooper. Landry, I think he's still gonna get his own because you can't let Odell just roam free because he's a bigger difference maker than Jarvis Landry in my eyes, and I think that's why he's been roaming free a little bit. I think teams are willing to let him beat them with Jarvis Landry, and they're not willing to let him beat him with Odell Beckham. They're saying, we'll take away Odell Beckham. You want to beat us with Jarvis Landry? Go ahead, but we're not going to let Odell Beckham get his.
Well, then my next question would be, because I said Hoop too, would be, is he going to have that much time in the pocket for those routes to develop, though? Like,
that's true.
Against the Ravens, because he's thrown a lot. I mean, he's thrown some things that has turned, but he's still throwing medium routes that have turned into something big. So he's taking shots. I just don't know that he'll have time to take those shots. I do think he's a good player, a good coach, good user. So I'm not doubting that he can do it, but I just, I wouldn't want to count on either one of those guys in a make or break if I had another option on my roster. Now, if I don't, then like you said, start them, run them. But if you got a couple other receivers, you look at like some of the other matchups we got in the league, I would favor those matchups than the time. I just don't know that he'll have that type of time in the pocket, which could lead to Hooper getting the ball more, even a Kareem Hunt. But I just don't know that those shots down the field will have time to develop.
Yeah, I totally agree. That front seven is definitely a problem. So that might be the only thing that might take away Landry's effectiveness. But I think when it comes to somebody being on the other side of the ball against that Cleveland offense, you're more looking towards Nick Chubb and Odell Beckham.
True.
And trying to force the ball elsewhere to Jarvis Landry or even Austin Hooper. But I think Austin Hooper could be covered well enough by a user if you're doubling Odell Beckham over the top with the computer coverage.
Yeah, this might be Hoop's night, Hoop and Kareem, because I expect them to user up against Landry. If he's got Odell, the AI double team, and he's gonna use Landry, that should leave Hoop dragging across. So whatever he decides to do, I do expect the Browns to come out to compete. So this would be an interesting game. I don't want to say it's a winnable game in some type of false hope, but with the receiving core he has, with Hooper being an effective tight end as he's shown, with Nick Chubb running the ball, the right game plan could, upset some fantasy lineups for sure.
Yeah, and the one thing I do have to agree is coming into this week after a tough week for Baltimore, it could go one of two ways. It could be a vengeance game where he pretty much silenced the talk after he takes a tough loss.
Yeah.
Or it could be a game where it continues because he's a little shook from what just happened this past week.
Very true.
So I don't think there's any median to it. I think it's going to be either one of those. It's either going to be him shutting down the Cleveland team all game, or it's going to be him giving up a ton just because he's not mentally right in his head. That's how I look at it.
I agree with that. Fallen, what you got on that one?
I think he's going to get his catches, but I think the Ravens are going to bounce back in this. And I really see that this game is kind of going to get out of hand, I think, early. And I think that the Browns, I think they're going to try to pass, but I don't think they're going to have much success. But I think,
you think it'd be enough to still start Landry, though?
Yeah, I would definitely start Landry this week. I wouldn't sit him. He's not a guy, unless we see him going forward, getting only like a few points a game and just not even being targeted, then maybe. But yeah, I think Landry's a must start for the rest of the season. If a team is definitely targeting him. Despite the defense on the other side, throw it to him 100 times, bound to catch it a couple.
True, very true. Well, defensive guys, I'll jump on this one. I actually decided to start the Vikings defense. I'll package it up. I wanted to start the Vikings defense against the Bengals. I think the Bengals are struggling to find their offensive identity. I think they're having some successes, in the past couple of games, but I just don't expect this to be the game where they finally figure the whole thing out and say, hey, we know how we want to put up points. And sitting, I actually set the Pittsburgh defense, the Steelers. They've got that impressive front seven, but he's kind of going through a down slump. I don't expect him to fix it against the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears started out kind of slow, rookie quarterback, but I feel like that he's really kind of found his own lately, and I think that's actually I think he's actually just going to continue to grow with that rookie quarterback and become more of a threat. So that's my stardom sit-em on the defensive side. Nefarious, what you got for me? Or you can give me your opinion on that, and we'll keep going.
So I definitely agree with you, sit-em, because I went with the Pittsburgh defense as a sit-em for me as well. Don't like that matchup. Don't like the mindset that the Steelers are in currently. So
yeah,
that's a very good matchup, I think, for the Bears going up against a wounded, pretty much, Steelers user. Specifically mentally. My starter for defense, though, is going to be the Giants up against the Chiefs.
Okay, I like that.
After taking a huge, loss against the Cowboys, I think this is a big bounce back week for the Giants going up against the Chiefs, and he has one of the better pass defenses in the league, if I'm not mistaken. He was
leading interceptions at one point. I don't know if he's still number one, but I know he was.
Yeah, so I think this is. Yeah. I could see a lot of interceptions in this game. I could see 4+ interceptions. Who knows if he returns a couple to the house? But that's going to be my stardom for defense.
I agree with that. I actually like. I think I like that better than my stardom, honestly. So yeah. Paul, what you?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, okay. I like that Giants defense. He's second in the league in interceptions, just under the Ravens, who have 29. So, but the Giants don't necessarily get a lot of sacks. They're tied for, I guess, one of the worst in the league with only 6. But I guess looking at it, I'd rather have interceptions than sacks. So, and they're both going to get you points. So this week. I think this is kind of a no-brainer pick, but I have the Pats defense starting against that Jets offense. We talked about how it was a blowout the last time they played, and I see that happening again here. And I see them putting up at least a couple touchdowns on defense. I think they're going to continue what they did last week against Baltimore. And I really don't think the Jets will have a shot in this one. And then for my sit-em on defense, I have the Eagles. They've kind of been an up and down defense this year. I think they were pretty positive last week and had 10, but they were playing the Packers. So, but against the Chargers, we've seen the Chargers put up incredible numbers, and I think that in this game, I think Burns going to struggle against the Chargers defense, and the Chargers going to have short fields, and they're going to put up a lot of points. I think it's going to drive the Eagles to have negative points.
I like that one. I like that. I did not think about that Chargers-Eagles game. I was actually trying to figure out where the Eagles' weapons lie. I was really trying to think about that, and I haven't figured it out yet, and I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm being dead serious because I was trying to see how they might stack up against the Chargers, and I think this one heavily favors the Chargers offense for sure, especially off that week Eckler's coming off of. I don't expect the Eagles to slow him down, because he moves the ball in the air with confidence also. He didn't have to do it last week, but we know he does. So I think he'll attack this defense a few different ways, and I would definitely sit him.
Yeah, the Eagles defense is you got a lot of holes. It's It's definitely not one of the better defenses in the league, and the Chargers user is one of the better offensive minds in the league. So I definitely don't like that matchup. So I agree with that, and I think the Patriots defense is a easy no-brainer against the Jets. Last time they played, I believe he had a couple pick sixes, so it's easy no-brainer to go with that Patriots defense.
Yeah, and on that Eagles defense, it looks like really the only guy you got to worry about is Fletcher Cox, who has 9 sacks, but everybody else underneath him only has like 1 sack. Fletcher Cox actually is tied for second in the league with 9 sacks, only just under Myles Garrett with 10. So I think if you run away or double team Fletcher Cox, I think the Chargers are going to find success, whether it's on the ground or in the air.
Yeah, I think that'd be an interesting matchup. What do we have? The bye weeks, right? Who's on a bye? I didn't skip anything.
Yeah, if you want to mention that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So this week we're back down to 4 teams on the bye week, and it looks like it's 2 divisions. It's the AFC South with the Jags and the Titans on the bye, and then the NFC West with the 49ers and the Rams on a bye. So I know we have a couple guys on both those 2 teams, not as many as last week, but you definitely want to check your lineup. Make sure you don't have anybody on those 4 teams.
Sounds good.
Yeah, don't want any of those bye situations. I don't know if you guys just noticed in chat, but one of our new users is interested in the fantasy stuff. So, more and more people are getting interested in the fantasy stuff as they come in. So I have no problem replacing folks if they don't want to, participate and pay attention. So the only people that really get a pardon on that is us 3, because we're already doing so much work when it comes to all the graphic stuff that you do, Goose, and all the stuff you do with the stream and the videos, and then all the stats and stuff that you do, Fallen. I mean, it's a lot to keep track of everything. So once in a while we do slip up, and as you noticed, I slipped up last week. I've slipped up a few times, so it's not just me, but it's anybody that's already handling so much.
Did you have any notable free agents you wanted to hit before we got out of here, Nefarious? Because I definitely went through that list once or twice. I was hoping I was going to be able to catch the Bills tight end. I didn't realize Q had picked him up. He had an amazing game today. Like, Jesus, man. I was like, oh, man, please. I went combing through that list. Like, please tell me he's still a free agent. Please tell me he's still a free agent.
One free agent, Dalton Schultz from the Dallas Cowboys was just picked up by Fallen, but the guy that interests me a little more, I think, is Blake Jarwin, because he gets more snaps last time I checked in. And he's used a lot in that offense. He's kind of got that.
Dalton. That's why I couldn't get him. Man, I definitely went for that.
I didn't get Dalton.
Oh, that was me then.
No, it was you. It was you.
Okay, cool.
It was you. Yeah, my fault. I was thinking of one of you, but I actually would have went with Blake Jarwin. I think he's more of that Mike Gesicki type that gets the consistent share reps. Yeah, and there's another guy. There's a few guys that actually get that have 15 plus catches from a couple weeks ago. One's not there anymore in Travis Kelce, but Caleb Wilson, Tyler Higbee, he's actually injured, but
he'll be back
another one that's interested in is Nick Eubanks. Seems to be gaining some steam in that Seattle offense. So that's a name to keep up with when it comes to tight ends. So when you take a look at wide receivers, Brashad Perriman with the new Rams user, maybe even Tutu Atwell finds another home. Tyler Lockett is always a good one to look at. Devonta Smith from the New York Jets. Then you got Damian Ratley from the Giants, who might get a lot more touches just based on the Giants losing some weapons in Ebron. And who else did he lose? He lost Darius Slayton. Reggie Davis. Reggie Davis is a very interesting one from the Chargers when it comes to wide receivers, because Reggie Davis has been used much more than Jalen Guyton and others. He's the second leading receiver in that offense, right next to Rico Gafford. So Reggie Davis is somebody that you should keep an eye on. When it comes to running backs, not much. Maybe Darius Geis from the Raiders. Then you got Darius Geis from the Raiders, and then you got Xander Horvath, who's the red zone and goal line running back for the Carolina Panthers. He goes with him over Najee Harris and goes with him over Christian McCaffrey in those situations. So he's putting up a lot of touchdowns. So that's somebody to keep an eye on. And Devontae Freeman is another one to keep an eye on with the new Rams user. When it comes to quarterbacks, not much out there. Baker Mayfield was just taken, so he's off the board. Maybe Kyler Murray over there in Arizona might be an interesting choice. And even Jamie Newman from Minnesota is an interesting choice. You know, if you need a quarterback and not sure who to go with, it's always good to go with a top tier user. And especially when it comes to the quarterback, they're going to protect the ball and not have a lot of turnovers. And then another one that I'm surprised is still out there is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is putting up numbers in that Titans offense, so I'm surprised he's actually still out there. I would have picked him up a long time ago, but I think I'm all set when it comes to quarterbacks. I got Trey Lance, who's been performing well for the Saints, so I'm not really worried at that position.
Yeah, it makes sense. I actually just picked up Baker off the free agency, but when I did, I looked at Aaron Rodgers, but the force feeding that's been going on, it works two ways, right? Like Landry's receiving, but Baker's the one throwing it. So, which was tough for me because knowing that Pat Mahomes has Tyreek Hill to throw to and Mecole Hardman and Travis Kelce, I felt like, man, I don't know that I should let that go. But when I looked at the remainder of the season for the Chiefs, I was like, I just don't know that he'll be able to have another one of those passing games. I'm not saying he won't, but I don't know that I trust it enough to save him the roster spot.
Yeah, and there was another free agent I want to talk about. I actually just stole him. Hopefully he'll be a steal for me on the season. But Zamir White for the New York Jets, taking over for Le'Veon Bell. I mean, last game he had a couple of touchdowns and I believe over 200. He might have over 200 yards last game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would have to go back and look at that game, but he had 2 touchdowns, that's for sure. And I think he's going to lean towards that running back moving forward, and he's going to be that bell cow back with Le'Veon Bell being that third down receiving type back. So I think Zamir White is going to be an interesting ad moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I like it, guys. Another great show, man. Premier Madden League Red Zone Fantasy Report, part of the PML Network, the #1 league. You guys love it. Thank you for tuning in as always, whether you tune in live or watch the playback. We appreciate you. We're about to get out of here right now, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Neff, say bye to the people. Fall and say bye to the people.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. It's been a pleasure, and this is where you're going to come for, your red zone, your fantasy football needs. We're going to have it for you.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully we gave out some good advice and you guys are able to take from it. And good luck this week.
Awesome. Sounds great, guys. Thanks. We're out of here.